Hi everybody, welcome to our customer service automation session. We're just waiting for a few other people to come into the room, but welcome to the guys that are here. If anybody has any problems hearing us, please type in the chat window on the left hand side. Just type in your message at the bottom of that. So yeah, we'll just wait for a few other people to come in, but welcome. Okay, well, we might get started. So welcome to the Customer Service Automation, Leveraging AI for Customer Service and Greater Efficiency webinar. My name is Llew, and I'm the Executive Director of Advancer and also the founder of Reload, and I've got with me Sahlia.
Hi, how are you going?
So, g'day Sahlia. So yeah, welcome everybody, and this is going to be pretty interactive, about a half an hour to a 40-minute presentation. And we're going to take you through everything about chatbots and customer service automation. So if there's any questions that come up, as we said, there's a chat window that you can actually click on and just type your message in down the bottom. If there's any troubles with that, then please let us know, because we've enabled chat throughout the session, and we've got a bit of an offer at the end as well for you. So yeah, we'll dive into it. We'll dive into the actual presentation, and we'll get started. So. We'll just go through quickly a little bit about Reload. Do you want to introduce Reload, Sahlia?
Yeah, awesome. So at Reload Consulting, we specialise in strategy consulting and market research with a particular focus on the digital space. So while we provide strategy and consulting across a range of areas, everything really kind of comes back to that digital understanding and that digital focus.
Excellent, great, and plenty of clients there. We can see as well that you've done plenty of work with in the consulting space. So yeah, it looks good. Excellent. A little bit about Advancer. Advancer is a bit like a sister company to Reload. It's been born from, I suppose, doing some more AI and chatbots and automation work, and a lot with people and culture change as well. So basically, Advancer is a consulting company that does the business strategy, people strategy, and everything AI and chatbots. So we sort of partner with Reload Consulting through our Metrica brand, which is the implementation arm of Advancer. So we'll dive straight into what we're going to talk about today, and we'll get straight into it. So there's already some people using lots of chatbots very successfully, and they're pretty massive. But before we get into this, maybe we give a couple of stats that we dug up, Sahlia.
Yeah, sounds good.
Really about what a chatbot is and how useful they are. I suppose the big thing that when we were looking at this, we found that chatbots are going to start to save organisations about $8 billion US by 2022. So there's going to be huge savings and productivity gains with chatbots.
Efficiency.
And efficiencies.
Absolutely.
And there was another stat that we went through, which was chatbots will handle over 85% of customer service interactions by 2020. So within 18 months, we're going to be seeing chatbots doing 85% of customer service jobs.
Massive growth.
And it's not so much the replacing people, is it? It's more about improving customer service and customer experience.
Taking care of the boring stuff that the customer service team don't want to be doing.
That's right.
Focus on more meaningful things, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, very, very interesting. So it's chatbots, of course, are a great way to implement machine learning and intelligent learning and artificial intelligence. I suppose we'll get to artificial intelligence and machine learning in a sec, but very useful and quite useful for many businesses of any size.
And across kind of every industry. Really.
Everything, yeah.
Which we'll see in some of the examples we've got here. We've got examples from a range of different industries and spaces. And
right.
I think it just goes to show the application of that technology across all those different industries as well.
So we're looking at order taking, customer service and inquiries and all that. So let's dive into Spring. So what has Spring done here?
Yeah, so I thought this would be a good one. Spring were one of the first businesses to launch a bot through the Facebook Messenger bot platform. And they're a really good example of a very simple but effective bot for the e-commerce space as well. So they've got this bot that's very much kind of basic Q&A, but it really takes people through the common questions and can actually enable people to make purchases right through the bot.
Is this a bot on Facebook Messenger, or is it just
purely on Facebook
Messenger?
So
yeah.
Obviously there's a lot of different applications that you can use. This one is just Facebook Messenger, but it really does enable that conversation through Facebook, and it actually enable purchases to be made there and then, which kind of ties in with this trend that we're seeing growing of that conversational commerce.
Yeah.
And not only are bots now looking after customer service inquiries and those conversations, but actually facilitating transactions and kind of taking that e-commerce to a more conversational and personal level as well.
That's great. Yeah. Well, let's have a look at a couple of other examples. So this Bank one, I think everybody knows Bank in Australia, basically doing 31,000 customer questions and answering a huge amount, isn't it? So
yeah.
Increasing all the time.
Yeah. So RoboChat was Australia's first virtual assistant that helps people who are going through the home loan application process with Bank. So it kind of takes them through that. This one's a really good example where the conversational flow has been a big priority for Bank in this, and they've taken the time. They've worked with a conversational flow expert that helped really construct that natural flowing conversation. And as you can see in kind of the screenshots there, I know some of them are a little bit hard to read, but they, someone's asked, can you tell me a joke? And RoboChat has a response to that, and it's really conversational. And I think that's kind of pivotal to why they've been so successful. And I'm pretty sure from what I've read, Bank are launching additional chat functionalities across different areas as well off the back of this success.
So that's a pretty important point, isn't it? Like they're constantly evolving, they're constantly building extra functionality into these bits of chatbot. That basically this one is actually using probably a different bit of solution, isn't it? In terms of they use IBM, don't they?
They use IBM Watson along with Live Engage through LivePerson, so a mix of the two.
Yeah. And it would probably hook into, because IBM Watson goes into Facebook as well, doesn't it? So, it would actually go cross-platform.
This could. I think in this case it stays within that application process because it's really helping people who are going through that. But yeah, it has the capability to go across multiple kind of platforms as well. And
that's great. Yeah, it looks good, and I like the joke. Tell me a joke. How much does a hipster weigh? An Instagram. So very good. Right. So this one's very cool. There's a great case study, isn't there, on this one?
Yeah. So I recommend if anyone wants to look into this one further, doing a bit of a Google search because there's a fair bit of information around kind of the process that went into creating this bot. So basically, Spikes Asia Festival of Creativity. It's a big event, and they launched this bot, which to them was about really improving the experience of the event attendees and taking people away from the app because they could see that usage of mobile apps was going down. They're like, well, let's take it away from the app and create this more engaging experience through this bot. So they did it really based on a good understanding of, first and foremost, who their audience is, which in this case is people working within the advertising and marketing industry were their audience because that's the nature of the event. And that was one of the first steps they took, was understanding who is the audience, so that then their conversation voice and tone could be based on that, and the whole interaction was really based around knowing who they're talking to. They spent a lot of time talking to their stakeholders as well to understand what was the need for a chatbot at Spikes and what functionalities does it need to do. So they really put a lot of research and strategy into building this bot, and basically the output of that is pretty impressive. It can basically understand whatever query users post to it. So a same question can be asked to this bot
so it's
a
got
zillion different ways.
Yeah, so it's got a lot of natural language processing.
Yeah.
NLP we call it.
Yeah, so they really, instead of just going keyword input output, they've really trained it around phrases, and it's using that machine learning to kind of build that up over time even more. So it really can respond to pretty much anything that gets thrown at it.
It's great. It's one to check out, definitely. So Spikes Asia. All right. So we'll keep going through. So now the really important questions, I suppose, when organisations are looking at implementing chatbots, which a lot are now. I mean, it's quite a hot one. And, the CEO might come to someone and say, let's do some artificial intelligence. And often it's a good place to start is actually doing a chatbot, isn't it? So, so why invest in a chatbot? I mean, what's the key reasons? And we've got some major ones up here that some of our clients, haven't they? They've actually rolled out chatbots because they've tried to enable a number of these different things and actually enacted on a number of those areas. So the first one, I suppose, is it's about instant, fast answers for your customers. It's all about customers, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, a chatbot can be there 24/7. So no matter when the customer has a question, they can get the answer. And if it's a really intelligent bot that talks to them like a human, they're getting that personal experience whenever they need it.
That's it. The other thing is reducing service time and increasing efficiencies. You talked about it before about increasing efficiencies. What areas can you increase efficiency using a chatbot within a business?
Yeah, I think the most common one we've seen through the clients we've been talking to is just the amount of time that the customer service teams waste answering the most basic, simple questions.
The same FAQs, the same question and answers.
Yeah,
right.
And all this time is going into, obviously you want to be providing that excellent customer service at every touch point, but they're having to go to that effort for all these basic, simple interactions that can be taken care of by a bot. Like that stat said, bots are predicted to handle over 85% of customer service interactions. That's because a lot of those interactions are quite simple things.
That's it. The other one is it frees up human agents to focus on more meaningful work. We had a Sydney client, didn't we, that basically that was a big thing. It wasn't about actually moving people on. It was actually redeploying them in different areas and actually freeing them up to focus on things that they needed to get done. And the first 30% of their day was being consumed with these mundane tasks. And I think that's the key thing for a chatbot, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think there's a lot of fear out there. You see a lot of articles and kind of things around, are you ready for robots? They're going to take over our jobs, and kind of this fear of being replaced, essentially. But it's really not the case. It's really about supporting the human resources to enjoy their work more and do more meaningful work. And
do more customer engagement. So they actually, increase the customer engagement indirectly and directly. We've got that up there as well. So customer engagement gets increased by the bot actually having more meaningful relationships. And then an important thing we call is handoff, making sure we know when to hand off from the human to the bot and back to the bot if we need to. That we're increasing customer engagement. We're not diminishing it, if you like.
And I think Llew is a good example of that, where they've got it built in that if there's 2 cases of the bot not being able to assist with the customer's inquiry, then it hands over to a human. Yeah. It's got that built in.
Great. And automation, of course, and streamlining simple tasks. It's a bit of a no-brainer, isn't it? Using a bot to automate those simple things that we're not going to want to do. So, all right. So let's go to the next one. The intelligence. Do you want to talk about the intelligence behind the AI?
Yeah. So I guess this comes down to, and so I might just go back. Yep.
Back one?
Yeah. So kind of like what we saw in those cases, particularly with Llew and Spikes Asia, is, they've got these awesome bots that are really doing great things for their business, but it wasn't just a case of getting a web developer to throw up a chatbot. There was a lot of strategy and planning and research that went into that. And that's a really important step that really needs to come first before any building starts happening. So we've kind of broken that down into 3 key stages. First being, who is your bot talking to? The second then being, what will your bot actually do? And then the third being, what will your bot say? And then we'll go into each of those stages.
That's great. All right.
In a little more detail.
Well, let's get through them. Okay, so who's your bot talking to? Understanding your customers. So as we said before, it's all about your customers. Talk us through this process and how important this process is of understanding and mapping out your customer.
Yeah, I think it's 100% easily the most important step, but probably one that's often overlooked, because at the end of the day, you're implementing a solution like this to improve the customer experience and to take on customer service interaction. So you need to really understand not only who your customer is, but also what their needs are and what they're expecting, and how you can actually provide value to that experience through the use of something like a chatbot. So, if you've already done a lot of work into understanding your customers, you know who they are and you have that insight, that's awesome. You've kind of already done a bit of that legwork. But if not, it's absolutely a step that needs to be taken. Often that can look like customer workshops or focus groups where you get a group of customers in a room and actually ask them and have a conversation with them around what information they need, what support they need, what they'd expect from interacting with something like a chatbot, and really know that firsthand. It could be something a bit larger scale, like an online survey or something like that. But just getting it directly from the customers themselves is really important.
Really important. And often what happens, Sahlia, is that people dive straight into the tech. They want the chatbot instantly published and deployed, and they make the mistake of not engaging with their customers, deploying something, and actually it impacts negatively on the business. So it's important to do this part first, isn't it?
Yeah.
And another part is about the staff. The staff have to be engaged from the start as well. So there's also a staff component to this, that they need to know that they understanding what's happening in the organisation, who's going to handle it, why they're doing it. It's not going to replace jobs, but what it's going to do is increase the customer engagement and customer experience of the organisation.
Absolutely. And then with that understanding, things like mapping out that customer journey to really understand that experience in more detail, and looking at things also like the behaviour analytics in Google Analytics for the website and how people are interacting with the site already can provide really valuable insight to inform the strategy with the bot.
That's a really important one, isn't it? In digital marketing, of course, what we do is we look at those micro moments, those behaviours, and we take those on board to do channel planning. So where they're going to be on, whether they're going to be on Google Ads or Facebook or Insta or whatever it might be, we can do the same with a chatbot, can't we? And say that's when we need to, do that component for that client at that stage of their customer journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Great, excellent. We'll go to the next slide. What will your bot do? So there's two parts. There's business requirements and there's technical requirements. So do you want to talk about the business first?
Yeah, so this is where obviously, as you said, we want to be engaging employees and kind of those internal stakeholders from the very beginning. But one thing we definitely want to get from particularly key decision makers and key stakeholders within the organisation is an understanding of the business requirements, the goals and objectives that are actually driving this project. And understanding also what success of having a chatbot implemented will look like to those people as well. So we're understanding the customer requirements and their needs, but also the business requirements and what their needs are from this exercise.
Great.
So that, again, having those workshops with key stakeholders, with the wider stakeholder groups, whoever needs to be involved in that process. Again, it could be focus group. We could do a survey across multiple teams if there's a lot of stakeholders to engage. Different ways we can do that, and really trying to get an insight as well into what challenges are the internal teams facing that we can potentially help address through something like a chatbot.
So important. I mean, it's a great place to start with a customer service manager, isn't it? Who's got many years experience and engage with them and their team to say, right, where are the friction points? Where are the key challenges internally, and how can we use chatbots to help solve that?
Yeah.
Great.
Absolutely.
And then there's the technical side, which is done in the same way, which is actually an IT chat. But in some of the consulting we've been doing this year, we've actually involved IT, of course, inside these sessions to ask that question. So we've actually had the business stakeholders from the managing directors through to the customer service teams with the actual IT teams in the room from day one.
Yeah.
And I think that's really been good to make sure that IT is actually involved as well. So web developers and the actual developers, the AI and things like that.
Working alongside with the marketing team.
Correct.
And kind of everyone's really working together to create a really powerful solution in the end.
That's it. The big thing is determining the technical requirements of the chatbot, which I'll talk about in a sec, which is really vital to the organisation, and making sure that we identify the functionality that's actually going to work with their existing business requirements, which are things like their CRM, their content management, and some of the other key things they need to address. So, okay, great. Let's go to the next one. So yeah, this is actually a live client, isn't it? That you did some.
This is actually some ones we're doing for our own chatbot project.
This is our own one, but it actually looks like the ones we do for our clients as well, doesn't it? So,
exactly.
So this is a Reload Consulting soon to be launched chatbot.
In the works.
In the works. What are you building it in?
We will be using IBM Watson.
IBM Watson, great.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, once you have a bit of an understanding about what the customers are wanting and looking for in the bot and what the business requirements are, then you can start to map out the overarching workflows of how customers will engage with the bot to fulfill the different goals that they're coming to it for.
What are the different colours? What's the different colour key?
We colour code it per path.
Right.
So each path is a specific overarching intent or goal.
Yep.
And then we just map the overarching flow. This doesn't get into the nitty-gritty of bot says, human says, bot says, human says. It's more just the key stages that they'll go through.
Right.
So that we know that for every goal that someone comes to the bot with, there is a complete path. There's no dead ends. There's always a solution, whether it's providing them with what they're looking for, if it's directing them to another path, whatever it is, it's making sure there's no dead ends and there's something to really guide that. And then that will then be able to inform how we build out the dialogue based on understanding that.
Excellent. And so just give us some examples of, it's very hard to read these slides, of course, for everybody.
The one on the very left, you can see there's lots of dotted lines.
A lot of orange.
Basically,
what's that
that's
doing?
taking someone through a form completion process.
So that's a form completion process.
So that's actually, if someone wants to submit an inquiry, they can actually plug in all the information to the bot will collect all that and submit that through as a form.
Okay, great.
So they don't have to leave the bot. They can, if they want to get in touch, the bot can just take their details and send that through to us.
Okay, and is the middle one product and service information, or is it sort of doing something different? Because it's got a different style of flow, hasn't it?
So that kind of flow typically represents a bit of a kind of taking them through, trying to figure out what they need or something like that, where it can use a series of questions and understanding to spit out kind of key recommendations that are relevant to what they're looking for.
Okay.
That is particularly good when there's complex products, like we've been working with a client at the moment where people come and they're like, I don't know which product is going to be right for me, and being able to have the bot go, oh, well, how is this important to you?
So make recommendations.
Ask questions to then go, okay, well, based on what you've told me, this product seems to be the best suited for you. We can kind of help them reach that decision more quickly, and then can guide them on to whatever they need to do in order to continue that purchase journey.
Okay, great. Excellent. All right, well, let's keep moving. So what will your bot say? So building the dialogue, I mean, this is really important, isn't it? So let's start with the bottom one there. Let's start with the orange bit. Give it personality. I mean, often it's a bit like building a website or a campaign. Everybody wants to do the graphic design parts first and all the good things. Yeah. It's often good, though, to set up the project name and give the bot an actual personality. So we've seen lots of different examples.
Give it a name, and this is where the understanding of the customer is so important as well, because it needs a personality that's going to match that they're going to talk to it and it's going to be a positive experience. It's maybe it is a bit cheeky, or maybe it makes some jokes, or whatever is suiting obviously to the brand as well. And having responses in there that are just the chit chat kind of responses as well.
A bit like that Eubank one with the joke. Tell us a joke, and that's fun and that's fresh, and that matches the Eubank brand, doesn't it?
And Eubank did, as they said, when you kind of read about it, they've said conversational flow was super important, and when they mapped it out, they had a special section of the dialogue where it was just all the chit chat stuff. It was just all that kind of fun, basic interaction. Because no one's going to just ask questions about the product. People are going to throw curveballs and ask random questions, and if the bot can handle that and respond well, then it just really enhances that whole experience. That's
right. Yeah. So and there's an important one on there, considering human error and different ways to say the same thing.
Yeah. So building out the dialogue is a massive undertaking. And the other important thing is you're never going to have it 100% everything covered straight away. But the idea here is to really consider, for all of those flows that we've mapped out, all the different questions that the user might ask, the different ways they might ask that, and how the bot's going to respond, and building out that dialogue. Having that in place to kind of plug in to start with, but then monitoring that ongoing and updating to make sure that it's, maybe new inquiries come through that hadn't been thought of, or things are asked in different ways that we hadn't considered, that the bot is learning and is able to kind of evolve over
That's
time.
right. Yeah, and so IBM Watson and also Dialogflow and Microsoft, they all learn, don't they? They all basically get in there and increase that robustness of the dialogue that goes on between the human and the bot. Okay, brilliant. So key takeaway there, of course, give it personality. It's important to give it a name and come up with a brand. The other thing is the tone and language that it uses has to match the business. You just hit on it before, but you know, if you're a fun, fresh e-commerce business, then you're really going to need a fun, fresh bot. You don't want something that's too, a little wooden.
At the end of the day, you want it to be like they're talking to someone in your team.
Yeah.
And so how does one of your employees talk to that customer? Well, then the bot should be kind of replicating that.
Yeah. Great. Good takeaway. Okay. Choosing the right technology. So I suppose this is me, isn't it? So really, really important to get it right. And let's dive straight into it. So what we've been seeing over the years is there's been a few people running down rabbit holes, I suppose, isn't there? And trying to do it IT and tech-led when actually it is customer experience and marketing and business requirements-led, isn't it? So what we've done today is really preface that by sort of saying that we believe in the model that we all work together on is getting the workflows right. So once you get the workflow right, you then need to look at what available platforms you can use. So what we've got up here is a couple of examples of what clients have been using, and ranging from startups that we look after right through to our own platforms, through to medium-sized companies here in Brisbane and also some in Sydney. So the top one you've heard us talk about is IBM Watson. IBM Watson is one of the best bits of kit to enable quick spin-ups of chatbots. And on the Advancer website, advancer.com.au, you'll see a very basic format of an IBM Watson tool, which is a chatbot. So basically, we've called it Advancer bot, and on there, basically, you'll be able to ask opening hours, services, and a couple of other things about us. Not very detailed, not doing a lot, but it's actually just tapping into the basics of what IBM Watson can do. The best thing about IBM Watson is that it has plugins to things like WordPress. So you can actually deploy it very quickly into a WordPress website, and there's a free plugin that you can actually just activate. Dialogflow was called API.ai, and that was then bought by Google. So Google owns Dialogflow, and that one's a bit like IBM Watson. They're both free until you actually go to an enterprise scale level. So you can actually spin that a chatbot up pretty quick. It also does machine learning as well. So you're using the Google Cloud, of course, so it's going to be very strong. And like IBM Watson, very easy to deploy. For IBM Watson and Dialogflow, you're going to need someone who understands Node.js, which is JavaScript, and you're going to need someone that understands how to deploy, I suppose, the CX screens that you're going to want to use as well. Amazon Alexa is becoming big. There's a bit of a power struggle, as we know, with the voice AI and the voice part of the digital game that's going on between the Google Home and, of course, Amazon Alexa. So the coders out there that are building a lot of voice technology with machine learning are using Lex, and that is on the Amazon Alexa path. So basically, you can actually use Amazon to do a lot of the same things as IBM Watson and Dialogflow. So it's definitely there as an option. Into some products, I'll start with ChatFuel on the right. ChatFuel basically is a great product that allows you to build messenger apps pretty quickly and build out a large number of interactions and different pathways that you need to get done. It's a free tool, and it's probably one of the best. There's
kind of like that ShopSpring example.
It's a bit like ShopSpring we had up before. Yeah, so if you want to display product information and have them going off to an e-commerce page, then ChatFuel's a good one to use. I would recommend using someone that actually understands how to use it before you go and try and spin it up and deploy it live, because as soon as you hit publish, it is live on your Facebook site and starts running a lot of things. So you actually need to get it right, and it's really important. Intercom, a number of my startups are using Intercom at the moment. and Intercom's great for that, just live chat, but actually Intercom goes a little deeper. You can actually do CRM integration with Intercom, a bit like LivePerson. LivePerson's out of Israel, and they're probably the benchmark, if you like, for high-level product-driven artificial intelligence and machine learning chatbots. So they have a big training program. They're a lot more expensive, but if you are looking at a very large enterprise solution, then LivePerson would be for you. The cloud, definitely. There's also Google on there as well. You could add Google onto that, but Google generally is I suppose the second one that we would use. We'd definitely look at Amazon Web Services, AWS, to do any custom-built machine learning technology. Microsoft Azure, which is basically Microsoft Azure AI, and if you're on the Microsoft platforms, then Microsoft is really good for being able to integrate with Microsoft Azure and also Dynamics or Microsoft 365. So both of those are great for cloud hosting. Dialogflow and IBM Watson actually use their own cloud, and you actually just piggyback off the back of their cloud platforms. So there's a bit of an overview about some of the technology, and it's, as you can see, we've just put up a couple. There's even a couple of local ones here in Queensland that you can actually use. People have gone out and built their own, bot platforms, and there's different ones you can use. But generally speaking, IBM Watson or Dialogflow would be a great place to start. All right, so that's as much as we want to talk about there. So, okay, so implementing a chatbot. So as we just hinted at, decide on the right platform and tech stack. So before you build it, you've got to make sure that it's going to work with existing infrastructure within your team and what they're using, and also from your CRM. The CRM is the biggest one. If you have to connect into any customer data or any warranty data or any returns data or anything like that, then you've got to make sure the back end is fully covered.
Which is why it's so important to have that IT team involved in that conversation.
It is, isn't it?
Early on.
Yeah. So you've got to build then out the key aims, and we've got a couple up there. You've got to actually consider a number of different things. What are your opening hours, the contact details, your team members, all that sort of stuff. You've got to maybe do some consulting around the top 20% of your product and put those personalised product recommendations up. You've got to ask the question whether someone can actually place an order or check status of a current order. Again, we're having to hook into e-commerce systems here and CRM systems. And the big one is complaints handling and feedback, of course. I mean, that's the sort of the starting point, isn't it, when you're considering what you're going to do and how you're going to implement a chatbot.
Yeah.
Excellent. So we'll keep going through. So assessing the suitability of a chatbot platform. As I hinted on, the pricing is definitely the biggest thing. You can try and spin it up yourself. It's a bit like doing SEO, I suppose. You can try it out yourself, and you can get maybe a web developer used to try it out. But generally speaking, the pricing will be dictated by how much customer journey mapping you need, how much consulting you need, and then the analysis and the in-depth architecture around the platform and the technology.
Yeah.
So functionalities. The other thing is, I suppose, as I hinted at the start, chatbots at the start of machine learning. Whether we can call them full artificial intelligence yet is questionable. I think a lot of this is basically the start. We're at probably the dial-up.
They're on their way.
They're on their way. We're at the dial-up modem stage, if you like, of the AI in terms of the chatbots and what businesses can use today. So the big thing is in machine learning and sentiment analysis inside a chatbot, detecting human sentiment is really important. And there's little things we can do there. For example, after 2 questions that don't get answered correctly or 2 responses that the chatbot struggles with, we can then seamlessly hand over and do a handoff, we call it, to a human agent.
Which is something the Llew example we're looking at as well, is that ability to actually read and respond to the user's mood when they're interacting with the bot using that sentiment analysis.
That's it. So, very important. Sentiment is huge, isn't it? The other thing is about integration. I've already touched on that into social media. Can it be deployed to Facebook? Can it be deployed out to your different channels, not just on, say, a web browser? The other thing is reviews, what people have to say about it. What we've got to have constant feedback, don't we? And we've got to make sure that we make sure that the reviews, we take on board their feedback and get an understanding. The other thing is case studies. Has it been used successfully by others? So there's plenty of case studies you've talked about today, Sahlia.
Yeah.
And I think that there's more and more appearing, and we'll start to put them up as our customers use them as well. And I think that helps everybody then with that capability evaluation.
And being able to see what's being done using each platform and how well it's being used is really helpful there as well.
And thanks, Sarah, for that great comment on chat. If anybody else has got some chat in a sec, once we finish, please make a chat offering as well. All right, so let's get to the final part. So, Sahlia, do you want to? We'll put up the offer, and we've got a great offer. Do you want to explain what this is? Hang on, let me just put it up, and I'll publish that out to everybody. There we go. And you'll see up there on your window a free strategy workshop.
Yeah.
So what does this involve, Sahlia?
So basically we figured we've talked through a lot today and kind of expected that potentially this will have people thinking about certain challenges they're facing in their business and maybe wanting to look at their customers a little bit more or something like that. So basically we're offering a free 1-hour strategy workshop with Llew and I to go through some of that, to talk through current challenges being faced, who your customers are and what they're needing, and kind of let you walk away with a bit more clarity and, I guess, direction as to kind of where to focus efforts. That's great. And it's based in Brisbane, isn't it? So we'll come to the customer and we'll come and have a chat and see how those business requirements and some of the technology requirements can be developed out a little further. So, absolutely. Excellent. Well, look, that brings us to the close of the session. Before we go, though, thanks for Sarah to actually putting up that comment. Is there any other questions that anybody had? I mean, do you have any questions, Sahlia, and is there anything you want to I think the question that comes up often that's probably worth addressing is, who's it for? Because I think often people will think it's, exclusive to the medium to larger size businesses, which is not the case. I think like we've seen with all this different technology available and the scalability of the costs, really anyone can implement a customer service bot to some extent at some level. That's it. It's highly approachable, isn't it? As we use the analogy, it's a bit like SEO. You can try it yourself, and then when you want to do it on a more enterprise scale, you can come to an organisation to actually do that whole end to end. Absolutely. Or the large guys might want to start with a bot that addresses all these different things, but you might just start with a bot that just tackles one key problem. And build it up over time as it goes. That's it. So, look, thanks for that question there. Is there a general time frame for planning to integrate chatbots into your business to launching? Yeah, that's a very good question. So thank you again for that. It depends on the customer. It depends often on two key areas. And I'll let Sahlia talk about one, which is the engagement, the amount of time it takes. And it can take 3 to 6 months to engage with the customer service team to pull all those things out. Yeah, I think, the amount of research needed into the customer is obviously one variable there. If there's a lot of existing knowledge and research done already, then that can be quite quick. Otherwise, we might need to spend a month or two just gathering that intel and that insight from the customers and from the employees. Then mapping out the workflows takes, probably another month by the time we map that all out. Collaborate with the customer feedback from the client, build that out, make sure everyone's happy with that, and then there's building out the actual dialogue, which is quite a time-intensive process as well, where you're actually figuring out all the potential questions and responses and ways that might be asked. So, it could be anywhere from 2 to 6 months for that initial engagement, just depending on the complexity and how much needs to go into it. That's great. So, and then the tech side. Is a real, it's an unknown once you walk into an organisation. The other big thing, the big factor is how much will the organisation actually be able to do internally. So how much do you need external people to come in and actually offer some of those coding
areas to actually get the bot actually developed. So to answer your question, it's a fairly wide answer there. It can take anywhere from a couple of months through to, let's call it 6 to 12 months to actually integrate and build a really robust bot. We'll caveat that by saying the one we're referring to there has over 700 different response questions and things like that, doesn't it? And variables. So we're talking about very large numbers of response things that can actually happen.
And also, I think it reminds me of another point in terms of the rollout as well. It depends if you're talking about, to soft launch to actually having something that's working versus to actually having it public facing and running. Eubank did a really good example of that, where they actually rolled it out just internally to start with.
Yeah.
They tested it. Then they rolled it out to friends and family. And then they tested it some more, and then they rolled it out to the wider public.
See, that's a great tip. Great tip. The rollout plan is something that you can actually help. So, look, it's to deploy on the Advancer website an IBM Watson bot took a couple of days because it's not too detailed. So a quick FAQ type bot that links off to a couple of web pages can take a few days to spin up and get it into your WordPress site. So a great way to test it is to do something pretty small, and I like that idea of friends and family. So look, thank you very much, everybody, and we're now at 40 minutes, so we'll probably close it off there. But look, if there's any other questions, you've got our email addresses up there, llew@advancer.com.au, and also Sahlia at Reload Consulting. So thank you, Sahlia, for coming on the webinar today, and thanks for everybody to attend, and thanks for your wonderful questions and feedback. So we'll wrap it up there. Cheers.